Salvē, and welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at John chapter 6, verses 14 through 15. But first, last time in John chapter 6. Here is a rubric. Let's get started. Illi ergo homines cum videscent quod fecerat signum dicebant, qui hic est veret propheta qui venturus est in mundum. Jesus ergo cum cognovisset, quia venturi essent ut raperent eum et facerent eum regem fugit iterum in montem ipse solis. That was quite the mouthful. Verse 14, we see a demonstrative article there. With the I, we have a couple of different options, but looking ahead, we have homines with es. It's going to be nominative, plural, masculine. The demonstrative will then go with that noun, ergo meaning therefore. And then cum, looking after cum, here we find our main verb, but then that means cum is not a preposition, but instead is introducing a cum clause. With this verb, we have isse, which is normally the pluperfect subjunctive ending, the perfect infinitive with the nt confirming pluperfect subjunctive for third person plural. And then that means the cum is telling us a adversative or a circumstantial clause, because with the indicative then it shows us temporal. But the circumstantial and the temporal in English are both when, so it's kind of hard to tell them apart. So I'm going to go with circumstantial when I translate this, because adversative doesn't make much sense based on what's going on. Then quod, from qui quae quod, a relative pronoun. In this case, is going to be nominative or accusative neuter. Taking a look at the verb, this one is going to be referring back to Jesus as the doer of the action, because we got erat, third person singular. With the e, that's going to be the perfect stem, but the a tells us, rather than the I, that it is pluperfect again. Pf, active and indicative. So quod as the object of fecerat is accusative, singular, neuter, and then signum is going to be the object of videscent, also for accusative, singular, neuter. And then we have a new clause starting with dicebant, B-A-N-T, for the imperfect tense third person plural. And then quia is the introduction to the direct statement clause that goes with dicebant together, the two of them showing it. So I'm going to add some quote marks here, but before we go into parsing this, I'm going to translate all of this. So then into this direct statement, hic from hic haec hoc, this is going to be the nominative singular masculine, est linking verb, so then we should expect another nominative singular, and vere adverb, the vere or verum, both of them being adverbs of the adjective meaning true. Propheta, even though this is clearly a first declension, this is going to be masculine, so nominative, singular, masculine. When it is a occupation in the first declension, it's almost always masculine, so poeta is masculine, pirata is masculine. Whatever the noun is for charioteer, it's masculine even though it's a first declension. Qui, from qui quae quod, since propheta and hic are both singular, qui is going to be nominative, singular, masculine. Venturus confirms that with the us. With the est and venturus, we know we have with the ur also, should probably have included that, a future paraphrastic who is going to be coming, because veneo, venere, veni, ventum. So nominative, singular, masculine, future, active, participle, plus the verb in prepositional phrase, plus accusative because of the and then mundus, mundi, I think it's masculine, singular, masculine, the world. So this prophet is the prophet of whom Moses spoke back in the Old Testament when he said, though I am leaving you, this is right before God kills him and then buries him. He says, God will send to you a prophet who is like me. And so all of Israel has been expecting this prophet forever. We have just had John the Baptist, and they ask him, "Are you the prophet?" And he says, "No." But he is the Elijah come again, as Jesus said, if you are willing to accept him. If you aren't, then, well, he still is, but you don't get the benefit of his witness, I guess. And then 15 starts a new clause. Jesus' wrong form to be part of the prepositional phrase. Anyway, so close quote. Into verse 15, Jesus, subject form, ergo cum. So we get another cum clause with this same pluperfect subjunctive. I'm not going to bother parsing it. This is also going to be circumstantial, as that one was above. Quia, introducing another direct statement. Quia venturi essent. Note that we have our infinitive form of sum esse fui, but with the personal endings, that's then going to be the third person, because the nt, plural, imperfect, not present, imperfect, active, subjunctive. Also with a future participle, because the you are, I being nominative, plural, masculine, and really I should, except for the singular, just pull that down. Ut, and this is going to be a purpose clause, so because that, not because, when he had understood, when he knew that they were coming, they might come, ut raperant, ere, another imperfect subjunctive, third person plural, and then eum as the object of raperant, so accusative, singular, masculine, et, same exact form, so I'm just going to pull this over, and then we're going to assume a repetition of eum because this verb takes an accusative and makes it into another accusative, except we don't need to assume it. In the Greek, auton only appeared before in the previous section. The poieo didn't get an auton, didn't get an eum itself. So the Latin is slightly different in that the Greek doesn't have, or at least the critical text doesn't have eum. Regem, em, accusative, singular, masculine, rex, regis, king. Then we finally find out what Jesus does, even though he's all the way back here. Fugit, it, relatively straightforward, third person singular, present, stem, active, indicative. He fled. Iterum, again, in prepositional phrase. Montem ipse is the wrong form, so prepositional phrase closes here with accusative because of the em, singular, masculine, and also fleeing is fleeing into something, so there's more motion toward, and so you would take the accusative with that. And then ipse, from ipse, ipsa, ipsum, is nominative, singular, masculine, and then solus matching that. Even though we already have Jesus here as our subject, with this as the main verb rather than the subordinate clause cum verb, this is a repetition of him, but it's saying, if you will, in what manner he is doing this. Now you don't have a nominative of manner, instead this is just, the solus is describing Jesus as he is in this action, telling us that the disciples aren't with him when he flees away from being made king, which is an interesting thing. Though the problem here is that they want to make him what we call the bread king. Since he feeds them all, they're like, well, if we make him king, he can make bread for us. But then there's also the false, the not quite right understanding that the Jews have of the messianic person, of the prophet, that he's supposed to come in like Moses to defeat their enemies, to conquer Rome, to kick Rome out. But that's not why he's there. He will defeat Rome in that he defeats all earthly kingdoms. But what he is really there to fight is their sin, Adam's sin that condemns them before God, that prevents them from seeing the face of God shining on them as the blessing has it. So that is the type of king he has come to be for them, the one who defeats the real enemy rather than the temporal enemy. The Roman Empire was around for 1,000+ years, but in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing as to the real battle that he has come to fight, not fought. So there is our text. Let's go ahead and take a look at it in its own context. Therefore, those men, when they had seen sign which he had done, began to say, or were saying, that this is truly the prophet who is going to be coming into the world. Jesus, therefore, when he had understood that they were coming in order that they might seize him and make him king, he fled again into mountain himself alone. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope that you have a very good day. Wale.